guys have been in so much trouble back in the day.
Smarter than we are.
Right? Well, we're back on the Morning Brew with friends, and we're talking about how smart kids are and all the crazy stuff that we're finding out about people who are much younger than we are from like the startup weekend and all of like they just know this stuff. It's amazing. Like one kid you were saying just showed up and in basically 36 hours, 48 hours.
The entire website.
Just
ready to go to market.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, they're living it. They're not learning it. They're living it.
Right.
It's part of who they are. It's part of their DNA now.
Right. Well, it makes me wonder what we were doing.
Oh, I know what I was doing.
I don't remember much about what I was doing.
Well, we got some stuff. We didn't get a chance a second ago to look at Titus's artwork, but we got some photos of some of the stuff that Titus does. Okay, and cool. Titus actually is a working artist as well as a teacher and curator on his own. And you have an MFA from Yale and came here to make work. One of the things, and I think all of us know this about Albuquerque, is the light here is so special.
It really is.
Especially this time of year, because it's got that great, beautiful low sun. And what does that do to an artist?
I do feel like it really affected me, but you know, this idea of New Mexico, I'm from Colorado originally.
So it's not too strange.
My wife and I have been vacationing here, and you know, like power of intention. My wife basically, I brought her here for our honeymoon. I kind of dragged her to New Mexico, and she was a little reluctant at first. Then she was way more gung-ho than me. Every vacation was spent here. We just road tripped here all the time. And then she intended this job at UNM, made it happen, and we're thrilled to have made our dreams come true, moved to New Mexico. And so this idea of New Mexico Light has been with me for years. So it's really great to be here and actually experience it.
Well, I think in the startup world, it's a lot similar, I think, to the art world, because there is a lot going on, and the challenge now is to tell the world about it, right? And the challenge is to get the word out and to say, hey, we are here. There is stuff going on. We can make stuff in Albuquerque,
There's
right?
an acceleration program just for creative people called Creative Startups.
Yeah, and it's a brand new business accelerator. And when does their next cohort start? It's soon.
I think it's summer.
Yeah.
Summer.
And the whole idea is to basically bridge that gap between art and business.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find the next. They look at it like art companies are the next Netflix. They are the next iTunes. They are the next company that's going to be making films here or selling art here, rather than the next company that may be doing the next Facebook.
Well, I want to give a shout out to, you know, we were talking about this on the MAP project. There's a lot of arts organizations that are involved, including 516 Arts, Suzanne Sparge, Richard.
And if you haven't been to the 516 Arts space, the show there right now, it's so much fun.
The opening a couple weeks ago, there were like thousands of people.
Steve and I were there. We were in line. No, we were in line.
Amazing.
And I had my dog with me, and we were just hanging out, and it was a party outside on the street.
I was so proud of this city that night.
To see everybody come out.
I'm so excited to see what happens month after month while it runs.
Right around the corner too, Central features, brand new gallery, very forward-looking, very cutting edge. Nancy Zastadil runs it.
Yeah.
She's she's very involved with, Chamber of Commerce, getting things out there. She's a real great entrepreneurial, bringing that entrepreneurial spirit to the arts.
Is that where Bruce Davis was that night?
Yes.
Kudos to you guys in this show for highlighting these things. People need to find out about these things. This is a great vehicle.
Well, great. There's all kinds of ways too you can find out about it if you're interested in art, because the ABQ To Do site has a list of. I'm not sure, is it ABQ To Do or ABQ Todo? I want to call it ABQ Todo all the time, but ABQ TODO, and it's the city-run site that has this great calendar of all of this stuff, right? And it's shows like his, it's things like Lisa's events, it's everything is on this site. And it's one of those sites that's easy to forget that it's out there, but it really is this wonderful comprehensive.
It's a great resource.
But nobody's going to forget how you just said todo.
ABQ todo, yes.
Well, speaking of that, I just plugged something in there the other day, and I just want to mention this really quickly. There's an event coming up called Public Selects. Basically, Albuquerque artists are going to be opening their studios for 3 Saturdays in March. The public can go to the studios and vote on their favorite artists, and then those will be put in an exhibition at the museum. So look at Albuquerque ABQ Toto, to check it out and find the dates and times, and we'll be putting that information out there.
Excellent.
It's another way to get involved with the arts. And
That's excellent.
Get
Wow.
eyes on
But there's more than arts and tech business. I mean, you have more of a traditional business, running a mortgage business. Is it hard? We hear the stories all the time about people saying being an entrepreneur is a struggle. There are barriers in Albuquerque. I mean, how did you get started? How did you do this, Greg?
Well, I started with a national company, and then I migrated to my own company.
And what made you make that leap? To go from being the guy who had the job to being the guy who was making the jobs.
Frustration and dealing with the people that I was working for, and it caused me to say, there's a better way to do this. And like your organization wasn't around then, I wished I'd had somebody to help me, like your organization. But I finally had to get to a point of exasperation, and then sought a better way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of businesses in Albuquerque started out that way, where they had
started from desperation.
Well, they started from national connections, a national program. Then just decided they could do it better themselves.
Yeah. And what did you decide? What were the better things, and what were the things that made it easier, more profitable, more whatever?
Well, it was accountability and instant response. I answer my phone, I answer emails, I answer texts, and I couldn't get the people I was doing business with to do that.
That's
for
a
me.
huge thing,
Yeah.
right?
Communication is the lubrication in every well-run organization. That's a little limerick I started using back in the 70s, and it's so true. Whenever you have problems in business or problems in a community, you can usually trace it back to poor communication or invalid communication, and sometimes no communication.
Right.
It's critical.
Right, and Lisa knows this from starting teams. That's one of the big challenges, and one of the very cool parts of the Startup Women's Weekend is that it's not just one person going out on their own into the wild. You create teams of people
And they get coached and mentored, and sometimes those teams fall apart, but that was meant to happen, right? That's a part of learning how to start a business. Sometimes you don't pick the right partners the first time around.
Right.
So, but they teach all of that.
There are some of us that need to realize being mentored does not mean you're a young kid.
Right.
I'm having people help me get my new website up, which I do not
Absolutely.
understand whatsoever. Literally,
Lisa knows somebody.
Every time I've been at one of your functions, it's where somebody's coming up, and they're younger kids, and they're helping me out.
Well, in the mortgage industry, I'm noted as somewhat of an innovator in marketing. I've had to reach out to younger folks,
right,
and have them help me with social media, and get involved in this social media in a very productive way. And there's ways to do it that's very smart.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it that, like, I would have done it had I not sought
There's ways to
some
shove the ego
assistance
in your
from
pocket,
people like you're
yeah.
working with,
Right.
to get me a big leg up.
Absolutely.
I will make note of, I think, another thing that makes something what you do, doing your own personally owned business here. We met in the green room, and your love and your respect for the history of New Mexico is tangible, and I think you don't get that in a national company. You get that in a privately owned company here.
Locally
It's big.
started, locally founded companies.
Yeah.
We're going to be back in a minute with a whole lot more on the Morning Brew with friends. We're going to talk maybe a little bit about the Oscars, because I went and watched it last night. You saw some of it?
I saw all of it now.
You saw all of it now.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit more on the Morning Brew with friends.